Talking about erectile dysfunction is not easy, and most of us brush it off or blame ourselves, saying things like, I lost my mojo. Sorry, honey. I had a long day at work. I'm just not feeling it. Guys, with Roman, it's easy to talk about with a real healthcare professional who can prescribe real medication. It's simple, safe, and totally discreet. With Roman, you can get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for ED, all from the comfort and privacy of your home. A healthcare professional will work with you to find the best treatment plan. If medication is appropriate, Roman will ship it to you with free 2-day shipping. The whole process is straightforward, simple, and discreet. Getting started, just as easy. Go to GetRoman.com/Chael. Complete an online visit. Go to GetRoman.com/Chael today. If approved, you will get $15 off your first order of ED treatment. I tell you that Jon Jones might be retired, and before you push back on that, many people have retired and not told us. And there's also an incentive and a motivation for why you do it. All right, let's start at the beginning. I'm retired is words. If you say those words or you write those words down, you are now interpreted as retired, okay? It's not everything in life is that way. You've seen The Office where Michael needs to declare bankruptcy. He meets with an attorney, meets with his accountant. They tell him, hey, look, you got to declare bankruptcy. So he opens the office door and yells to the staff, I declare bankruptcy. And he thinks all of his bills go away. As silly as that might be that Michael did it, in the terms of I'm retired, that would work. You can open the door up and yell to the office, I'm retired, and then you are, but there's consequences that come with that. There's actually built-in clauses within your contract. There are things that will be frozen in place if you use those words in any form, whether you yell it aloud, generally in this space into a microphone with a camera in front of you, or you write it down, you shoot it over in an email. It's the same consequence. You're retired. There's rules within USADA if you retire. Moreover, the rules with USADA have to do with if you retire and then you unretire and what it is you have to go through in terms of being clear to being put back into the pool. So there are some major consequences, and there's real reasons that guys who are done won't say that they're done. This was an old trick by Vitor. Vitor, he cost Lorenzo more money. Vitor would sign for a fight knowing he was never going to do the fight. Knowing he either didn't want to fight this guy or he was going to say he was hurt or what, but he would sign a contract knowing that fight wasn't going to happen. He would wait until all the marketing was done, until all the materials were out, until all the billboards were hung up. Sometimes he'd even let the countdown show, and they only gave that to 2 positions, the main event and the co-main event. Sometimes he'd even let the countdown show air. And countdown shows in this sport at one point were huge. We're so spoiled nowadays with the embedded, right, the series and things like that we forget when the UFC used to have 6 events a year, or even when they grew and they had 11 events a year, or even when they grew from that and they had 21 events a year. That's still a small group. So for you to be able to get a countdown show that then gets advertised, builds you up, get your brand out there, it was tremendous. Vitor would know when the day he agreed to the fight, he was never going to do it. He would let all the marketing go, and then he would make the phone call. So Vitor's stock, right? I mean, it would cost Lorenzo about $300,000 in marketing. Vitor's stock goes up. It's kind of hard to cut the guy. It's kind of hard to drop the guy, even though he just pulled this move on you. Before you think I'm teasing Vitor, you tell me, where do you think that one sits? Frank Mir going to fight Brock Lesnar. Fight was done. Frank Mir wanted that, and Frank Mir, title fight, main event, gets to participate in pay-per-view buys. So the fight gets announced, and Frank realizes, wait a minute, we're doing this new thing. It's called UFC 100, and it's going to be an extravaganza, and it's going to be the biggest fight of all time. Tells his manager, call in sick on this date, get me moved to that date. I can put away another $4 million in participation. It's exactly what he did. 100% the way that story played out. Then you will have guys who have sponsorship agreements. But the sponsorship agreement has its clauses in it too, which is you must wear this many times, or you must do this many appearances. You must do this in your ring walk. Wear this, say this after your fight. Well, if you never have those fights, you don't ever have to do it. But if you don't ever say, I'm hurt, I'm done, I'm sick, I'm retired, they will continue to pay you until they catch on, which is generally going to get you about a year. So there's a number of reasons that a guy would be done with this sport. There's a number of reasons why athletes have been done with this sport and just never spoke up. Sean Shirk left the sport. It was 3 years later that he sent out an announcement somewhere. Oh, yeah, I'm retired, by the way, right? Rico Rodriguez was the champion of the world in this sport, much like Sean. I don't know if Rico has said the words yet to this day. So there's reasons that you just wouldn't speak up, even in amateurs. I see this all the time. Wrestling fan, USA Wrestling. If you're a top 3 guy in the country, you get a check each month. Number 1 guy gets X amount, 2 and 3. If you use the word retire, I'm done, I'm retired, they will pull that check and hand it to somebody else or just keep it. If you don't say the words, you will continue to get that for the next year until the new ranking system comes out, generally done in the form of the world team or Olympic trial. So those words matter. And when you think that I'm speculating about Jon Jones, he's not practicing MMA. He's not licensed for MMA. He has no other job that he could go to, which lends you back to he's going to come to MMA. He's damn good at MMA. The title opportunities and the amounts of money that are being offered to him are all very beautiful, but he's saying no. Does that put you back into the other category? Is Jon living off sponsors? Things like this. I don't know the answers to it. I'm just sharing with you. You can only look around so many times before you got to elect yourself the mayor of Get the Hintville, population U, and realize the guy's not coming back. And we lived in this crazy world with Khabib for 7 or 8 months, where Khabib could not have spoken any clearer. Maybe Jon isn't speaking as clearly, but it's still the same answer, which is, I'm not fighting. I'm not coming back. So why would he do that? Is that based on sponsors? That's why I give George St. Pierre so much credit. When George beat Bisping, captured the 85-pound championship, he held on to that for 8 days and gave it back. Openly and publicly gave it back. I'll deal with the sponsors. I'll deal with the media and the photo opportunities that are not going to come the same way because I don't have a belt over each shoulder. I just have this one belt that used to be mine and I let it go. I'm going to give them all back so that the division and the organization can get on with it. It was a tremendously honorable move by George that George was never given credit for. People tried to tell that story a different way. Well, he bet it and he ran away with it and refused to defend it. None of that's true. If he would have sat on that thing for 12 months before they stripped him, that's totally different. He took 1 week and handed it back. It was the right thing to do. I bring you all of this because there's many guys who have retired. I'll give you one more example, but Conor McGregor went on television one time, and I believe it was back in the UFC Tonight days. I believe it was over at UFC Tonight, but Conor McGregor said, I retire. Now, this was a very common thing back then. Floyd had already done it 6 or 7 times. A number of other fights, that was their move. I'm retired until I'm not retired. There was a quarterback named Brett Favre that was retiring every other weekend. I mean, it was the thing. It was just a thing to do, and Conor jumped in on that craze and throws out, I'm retired. And Dana had to come in the back of it and say, no, he's just talking. That's just words. And Dana explained why we are retracting that statement. And why we had to retract that statement is it could eliminate him from the USADA pool. And to get back into the pool is now going to take 4 months once you leave it the first time, which is totally different than you can get in overnight on your first time with no violation. So, repercussions. There's reasons guys wouldn't want to say something. But I know a number of tough guys that were good at marketing. They weren't the best, they weren't greats, but they were tough guys. And they were in the business of selling DVDs. And they just didn't ever want to come out and say that I'm retired. They would price themselves out of the market. For a while, you could get away with that. I'll fight anybody. I'll fight Rickson Gracie, but I need $500,000. Right? My buddy Joel one time was going to fight Kimbo Slice, but he needed $1 million. It's one of those things. I'm sure you guys could relate. I'm sure you'd fight Rickson and Kimbo in the same day for $500,000 and $1 million for the other. Right? It's one of those things, but it's called pricing yourself out of the market. I don't want to fight. I do not want to train. I do not want to prepare. I don't even want to do this, but I can say that I will, but you got to bring X amount of money, which I know will never be brought. Pricing yourself out of the market. They're ploys. They're ploys. They're for fun. They're for attention. I don't know if Jon's in that same spot. All I know is he has a really wonderful opportunity offered to him that he doesn't want. And I don't think that he owes us a reason why not. I don't think he owes that to us. I think maybe we owe Jon a little bit more. Hey, great job. You had a great career. Sorry it's over.